Welcome to my commentary tutorial for Little Samson for the NES. Another great game. This is one that, it's known for being very rare and expensive for collectors, but it's actually an awesome game. I'm playing it on emulation, as usual. But yeah, awesome game. I beat the Japanese version called Lickle many, many years ago. Maybe when I was 16 or 17, probably in like 96 or 97 or something like that, maybe. On emulation, when emulation was still very new to me. And for some reason I beat that on the easy mode, which I think might be a shorter version than normal. I didn't have as much patience to work on some of these games because I was heavily into weightlifting, so I kind of took somewhat of a detour from super hardcore gaming. No, I still would take on some extreme modes. Though back then, at that time, actually back then I don't think I was really taking on any extreme modes. I think that was more when I was like maybe 10 years later, 9 years later with like Halo 2 Legendary, and that's when it kind of started, more extreme challenges. But, yeah, so this is a great game. You have all these different characters you unlock. The first 4 levels, you just concentrate on unlocking the other 3 characters that you can switch between. And that's the main mechanic of the game, is knowing each of their different attributes. You know, like the Golem character, for example, can walk on spikes and punch upward. It's easy to forget about that, and I do at certain points of the playthrough. So you'll see there's things that could definitely be improved. This is pretty rough because these are just my successful completions of each stage when I did the playthrough, since I edited out all the deaths. So there's a few things that I'll probably be able to reflect on and be like, I could have done this better, and I could kind of give advice on that. It's not super refined or anything like that. But it was really just me playing through the game, and then I do commentary over these videos. So occasionally I will refine some of the segments, as I did in games that I already beat, like Castlevania. I did the Grim Reaper fight without any damage, as a, just as a nice way to demonstrate the fight with no special weapons or anything except for the cross, but not like no holy water. The old exploit with that game where you trap the Reaper in place and just beat the shit out of him and don't take any damage. I don't want to do that. I figured I'd try to show, I sometimes I'll try to show certain things that I think are important. I think that was a sticking point in that game for a lot of people, so I figured I should put some effort into trying to refine that part of the tutorial. Now remember, with these tornadoes, they don't damage you, so I recommend using a dragon to, you have to use a dragon for this part, because this is where you get all the characters. You kind of have to play a stage with each one of them first. And you can choose those stages in any order, the first 4 stages or so. But, the tornadoes don't hurt you. They can carry you in a wrong direction or the right direction. Sometimes if you're about to fall in a pit, remember that it's better to fall on top of the tornado. At least you can reset your flying time. Every time your feet touch the ground, you get all your flight time back. You have a certain amount of duration of flight that you can be in the air, and you'll get a feel for it. Once that time runs out, it doesn't show it, but you'll fall to the ground. So later on, you're going to want to get used to how long you can fly and try to max out as long as you could stay in the air, because you don't want to. There's parts where you don't want to come down too frequently. But I'll explain that later. So yeah, the Golem, great thing about him is he's like a tank, because he has. I don't know if he has. I don't think there's defense in this game, but he has a lot of health. He gets a shitload of health, so he's like a tank. He's also heavy and slow, but he has some things like he can punch up, which is great for reaching enemies that are above you. And he has a long, it's kind of a short reach compared to the other projectile enemies, but it's powerful. When that fist hits, it does a lot of damage, especially exploitable on bosses. I'm using a rapid fire controller, so I don't have to mash the buttons. So some of these techniques may not be as, they may not work quite as well with a regular controller, but if you're playing on emulation, you can just set it to one of the buttons to turbo. Either way works. I don't think it helps, tremendously in this game, but I think it probably does shorten some of the boss fights, because you get out a lot of projectiles with the characters that shoot, long range projectiles, like the dragon and the original boy character. They can shoot very rapidly with turbo, so that may be an advantage. aside from just saving your fingers from mashing. But sometimes it is a little bit of an advantage in these games. Remember, the golem can also walk on spikes. I think I mentioned that, but these are things you're going to want to remember because, and you'll see. I mean, I'll demonstrate it, but you're not going to necessarily watch this video step by step, so just keep those things in mind. Now, this is the mouse. By jumping toward a wall or a ceiling and hitting the jump button again, you can latch onto that surface. A lot of times, it took me a while to kind of get used to that or really understand it. It's easy, but it's just like I wasn't thinking that would be the way to do it. But just practice it a little bit. It's easy. And so remember, he can climb around. He's also super small. His hitbox is tiny because he's so small. It's easier to dodge stuff with him, but he dies very fast with such low health. So there are trade-offs. But he can pull a lot of bullshit. His bombs are like the most powerful weapon in the fucking game, mentally enough. Like, it's kind of weird. But for such a... he does have some strong advantages for being so fucking weak. His weapon is very powerful. Speedrunners use his bombs to destroy bosses in seconds, but it's very hard to do. It's very exact positioning. I ended up using him a little bit on some of the bosses to pull some bullshit, but most of the time I would use the golem to punch the shit out of the boss. That works really well, especially with all the health the golem can get. And to change your characters, just press start, and you'll be able to cycle through them in the menu. You'll see them highlighted; they'll flash when you select them. And there's also potions that you can get. Now, if you pick up a potion, remember, don't pick it up if your character already has a potion, because each potion is character specific, meaning that one character can't carry a potion that's usable on other characters. So each one has to pick up the potion as that character. So make sure you switch to the character that needs it. And you're going to be doing a lot of that with health management in the game. If there's a heart and you already have good health, switch to the character that's in more trouble that really needs the health to keep them alive. For this, you can just do what I'm doing here. You just kind of just stay in a corner and fire, and eventually this will work. I always try to exploit shit. This definitely works. You'll pretty much out exchange him, from shot to shot. He won't be able to really keep up with that. It'll be close, but you'll win. But yeah, so management of your health and items is very important by switching to characters that need certain things. So remember that. Remember that certain characters can get through areas easier because of the way they move, such as the dragon can fly for a period of time. And he also has kind of a bit of a homing shot. It's like a subtle homing shot, but and the golem can walk on spikes. And he has the upward attack and a very strong punch and a lot of armor. The mouse, very low armor, but it's very fast and small, easy to dodge things with, and the bombs that he has are very powerful. And the original character, the boy, is his shots are pretty powerful, more powerful than the dragon's regular shot. They don't have that little homing capability, but the boy can also latch on the walls and climb, somewhat similar to the mouse, but he can't climb on ceilings. But he can climb and he can wall jump side to side like the mouse can by pressing the button again on the wall when you're about to hit the wall. The jump button. So yeah, there's all these different, attributes to all the different characters. That's what's great about this game is it really makes you use different, character abilities. Now, you're also going to find, in the environment, you're going to find these things. See this? When you get that, I don't know how to describe it really, but when you get that item, it upgrades your health bar permanently, given you succeed in beating the level. If you do die on the level, you probably lose all that shit. But, when you get those are permanent health upgrades. And eventually, it doesn't take that long to max out a character's health bar. So once you see that your character's health bar isn't going up anymore from getting those, make sure you get those with a different character that needs it. Because you want to try to max out the health bars. It's definitely going to help you. And it doesn't take long to do. As long as you're, as long as you're mindful of it and don't just pick them up without thinking about it. Think about who needs the item. Same thing with the big hearts or, health in general, potions, etc. I also didn't explain how to use a potion. It's very easy, but in the character selection menu, when you collect the potion with a specific character, there'll be a potion below the character icon. And while you have the character highlighted, just press down, and that'll highlight the potion below the character, and then just press the action button again, and you'll use it for that character. Now, when using potions, don't just use them when you're at half health, unless you're really unsure of a boss fight or something where a boss takes a lot of damage. But especially in the levels, most enemies in the levels only take one piece of health when you get hit, most if not all. So unless you jump into spikes or something, I think those take a lot of health, and there's probably also one-hit deaths from certain hazards. But aside from shit like that, keep that in mind. And if you can, try to take a few hits before you use that potion, because you may find health, which will keep you alive, and you may be able to use the potion on a boss fight. So it's just shit like that. Trying to budget and manage your items will help a lot. I do a lot of that where I purposely don't really give a shit about taking damage, because my strategy is to just take the hits and tank through the level, you know what I mean? Because I know that I can switch characters, and I already know the level at that point. So now sometimes I do beat levels and bosses on my first try, so those are very unrefined because I don't really know what I'm doing. Though some of the bosses do repeat. But yeah, for those bosses, you can use the techniques that I use there. I mean, the Golem really destroys the second form. And you should be able, like I said, you have essentially 4 life bars, plus potions will give you extra life bars on each character. So you can have up to 8 life bars if you have 4 potions as well. So you can take a shit ton of damage if you, even just having your base characters. Now I'll explain a few things about how death works in the game. This is pretty explanatory with these tornadoes and flying and all this shit. As I said, when you land, you reset your flight meter. So there's not a visible meter, but there is a meter going on somewhere in this game. So, every time your feet touch, you just have to touch for a split second, and your meter resets. So sometimes just touch down to make sure you don't run, because you don't want to run out of flight energy when you're flying. That's about it. You can fly through a lot of shit. You can take hits a lot of times on the level, especially the easier ones, and you'll be managing that later if you play the way I am anyway. This is the way I did it. But I'll try to explain how the health system works. There's a shitty thing about this game that's annoying. Like, say you have like 5 lives where it says P equals O2. That's how many lives you have remaining. You can collect 1-ups by killing shit. But it's a little man that comes out as usual. But that number, is kind of worthless. I mean, even if you have 10 lives, there's going to be times when it's just a waste of your time because you're going to be committing suicide to get rid of the lives. And the reason I say that is because if one of your special characters dies, the ones that are not the boy, if one of those characters dies, it's dead permanently until you go back out to the continue screen. Now, you have unlimited continues and passwords, so you can just start at the beginning of the stage with all your characters and everything, and all their health will be refilled. But it's just kind of worthless to have all your lives when you have to fight 2 forms of a boss and you have to use the original boy, which is, unless you're really good at the boss, it would be extremely hard to beat some of those bosses with just the boy. I mean, it'd be much easier just to start the level over and get all your characters back. So 1-ups are not really, really that valuable at any point in the game, especially later when you don't even start at the boss. See, usually, for most of the game, when you die on a boss, that's a checkpoint. You'll start back at the boss. But the last few levels, if you die on a boss, you start the level over again. One good thing is that the levels that you start over again, they're shorter levels, and they're pretty easy. I mean, they're pretty easy compared to some of the other levels. So, I mean, that's the one saving grace about it, I guess. Yeah, for this, I mean, there wasn't much that I did here. I mean, I just try to dodge the orbs and shoot at it. I don't know if I even played this more than once. This was an easy boss. But, yeah, so that's why I say the 1-ups are really not that important. What's more important is having potions for each of your characters. Now, if you get to a boss with low health with everybody, then you may want to commit suicide, because remember, if you do commit suicide and lose a life, you don't lose any of your potions. You will lose all your potions if you go back out to the continue screen and exhaust all your lives. But you may want to commit suicide. Now, if you're gonna kill yourself and start at the boss with full health with everybody, the way you want to do that is commit suicide with the boy character. If you commit suicide with the dragon, the golem, or the mouse, those guys are going to be dead permanently until you go back out to the continue screen. So if you're about to die at any point in this game and you think you're about to die, switch back to the boy character and die with that character, because then at least you'll have full health with all the characters on your next life. The only checkpoints in the game are at the bosses, and that doesn't extend to the last few levels of the game. But so yeah, that pretty much, I think that explains how the lives work in the game. I don't think I missed anything. But yeah, just keep in mind that if you're about to die, switch to this character. So yeah, these guys are very easy. I mean, if you're firing rapidly, you pretty much just kill them. I mean, I didn't know at this point because I wasn't used to these enemies, but the skeleton enemies just duck the swords. If you duck the swords, they won't even hit you. But of course, I didn't know at this time. Now, for this point, the golem is fine for this part because he can... I don't know if those spiky mushrooms hurt you. I don't remember, but the golem, if they do, the golem can walk on spikes, so he doesn't have a problem with that. But the golem is also great for this because of his high armor, and he can punch up to reach some of these harder to reach enemies. So, a lot of times you can just, even if you want, you don't even have to dodge the pellets, because he'll just take the hit, and there's plenty of hearts and shit anyway. So you can play this part pretty sloppy, but I'd recommend using this character. And then there's a 1-up up there you can get by using the mouse if you want it. Yeah, and that's it for that level. There's not even a boss. So, very easy. You'll see underneath the dragon there was a potion there. That's what I was talking about, where you can select it for that specific character. At first, I thought that it was just showing how many potions I had and that I could use them for any character, but you can only use them, for the character that you picked it up with. So that's why the character switching can be important, even if it's for a second to pick up an item. Get this health grade and this health upgrade and use it for somebody that actually needs it. I think my mouse was already maxed out because the bar didn't go up, so... The golem can get quite a high health bar. He starts out with a lot of health, but he can get, into the second row somewhat. So, he's really a great character for pulling all kinds of bullshit. I didn't see a lot of people using him to exploit bosses, but I found him great for that. And I like using him to get through some of the harder enemies, like these skulls and guys that take a lot of hits. He can be very useful. Sometimes it's not bad to use the mouse just to take some hits and run through an area, since he moves so fast and can run around the walls. And sometimes there's health pickups right near the area anyway. Another level with no boss, very easy. I probably won't be able to give much advice when the levels start because I don't remember which levels had bosses and which bosses were on which levels too much. It's kind of hard to keep track. I also beat this over the course of several days. It took me around 3 hours and I think 6 minutes or something like that. Not that long, but I didn't. I sat down with it in 40-minute intervals sometimes. And then I think yesterday I played for 2 hours and something. But yeah, just remember to switch characters. I mean, if you got to take some hits, you can get away with taking quite a bit of damage in these levels. I mean, I'm playing pretty fucking sloppy. I may have, beat this level on my first try, so I didn't even know what to expect. Here I end up using one of my potions. If you're up at that top area, you can get that health upgrade, but I wasn't on that level. I could have went back, probably, and got it, but I don't know if I did. Now, since I don't have the mouse to climb up that pillar, I had to use these tornadoes to climb back up, I believe. Unfortunately, you can't heal characters that already died, so there's no way to revive them that I'm aware of. Okay, I guess I went back to this ledge. That's another way to do it. Or you could try to catch one of the tornadoes. Okay, I think I got the golem some more health. In this little area, there's no way to take damage. The tornadoes just try to push you in various directions. But yeah, as long as you keep firing with the dragon, I mean, he often clears shit out before it can hit you. If you're aggressive with it. But yeah, use the tornadoes to reset your flight meter, your invisible flight meter, and you can stay up in the air if you keep landing back on the tornadoes. I didn't really do that here, but I've done that in other, other playthroughs or attempts. I think this is just the dragon. Later on, you'll fight the dragon with another boss. I think you fight him like 2 or 3 times in the game. I probably would have just punched the shit out of him with the golem had I gotten back here, now. Because that's what I usually end up doing on the dragon, and it kills it really quickly. So this looks like, looking back at this, it looks like the golem would have worked better on this part. So I'd recommend trying that. Just try punching the shit out of him with the golem. Try not to get rammed by his charge. I think that does the most damage. It may even be an instant kill, but I don't know if it is this early in the game. Later on, it seems to instantly kill you if you get hit by his charge move where he rushes in. The hard part about his charge at times is because there's not really a good cue for when he's going to do it. So I still haven't figured out how to judge when he's going to do his charge, especially later on. But this part wasn't hard enough where I really, I just reacted to it as I saw it. As long as you have some space between them, you can at least see him moving towards you because he's not super fast. So I guess you could react to it that way by waiting to see the movement and then just moving really fast. I got kind of lucky later on in the game when I fought him because I just kind of just punched the shit out of him and was hoping he wasn't going to do his charge. Because the golem is pretty slow to move out of the way of charge. Yeah, so this is where it gets hard. This is the first really tough stage, for sure. So I figured out using a golem here. Use the mouse to get the 1-up if you want it. The golem here is great because he walks on the spikes originally, but the main issue he's great is because of all the health that he has, and he can punch a lot of the guys and collect some health on the way. Now this is going to save you from taking a ton of damage by trying to fly through this entire area with the dragon, like I was trying to do initially. So start off with the golem, then switch to the dragon where you see me switch to the dragon. Now remember, you want to... This is hard. One thing that's hard about this timing, it's a little tricky, is to jump up right until your head is about to hit the spikes, and then press the jump button again to lock your flight into place. So, that can be tricky to time, but for me, it was a lot easier to do it that way. Because that's kind of my play style, is being aggressive and relying on tight reflexes or just losing, because, that's kind of just how I play. But, it does work. I mean, it may not be the best way for everybody to play. Now, see that yellow... That different textured yellow platform, you'll fall through that and hit the spikes. That's why I was being careful. I didn't realize that the platforms were a different color at this point. I thought that invisible platforms were just popping up, and I didn't know where they were, so I just started flying over everything. I didn't even try to get that item below me. I mean, now I would have been able to get it, because now I understand that those platforms that are differently textured are invisible platforms that you can, not invisible, but they're platforms that you can walk through, so you can walk through them, or fall through them, either way. See, the mouse can walk through it because it's a different texture. Same with the ones on the floor. So, yeah. Okay, for this, I think I use a lot of bombs. It's a rare case where I use the mouse somewhat. It works somewhat well for me, but then I switched over. Like I said, the golem can really destroy shit, so... just punch the shit out of it to finish it off. You could use the golem the whole time. It would be no problem. Very easy boss. There will be some hard boss fights later, but that stage is the main challenge that that I first came up with. That was the first one that was kind of hard for me, so it took me some tries to get it down. But sometimes you don't think to switch characters, and I was stubbornly trying to fly through the entire level with the dragon, which is very hard to do. So I may have even done it, but I don't know. I think I came close to doing it with just the dragon, but it wasn't worth it. Here you can try to collect some of these items by stopping, hitting jumping on the stop your flight and try to collect it, but I'd say just worry about grabbing a potion mainly. because that you can use on a boss or some shit. But yeah, that previous level is all about getting the rhythm down with jumping and flying, and jumping just the peak height right before the spikes and just continuing to fly. And also getting very familiar with how far the dragon can fly before he has to touch down. Like, I was trying to push that pretty far, and then I kind of memorized, like, as far as I could. I don't think I was flying the maximum distance, but I was flying most of it, so I kind of got a good groove to where I would have to land and then reset my flight again. So that was the main thing I was keeping in mind, to beat that. But it's still tricky. But using that golem for the first portion of the level allows you to absorb a lot of damage with him. And then you have enough health left with the dragon to get through. Now, these guys are very easy if you mostly just duck and shoot. I was getting better at the guys by this point. But mostly you can duck and shoot them. Actually, these guys are great for farming. If you ever need any items, you can farm the shit out of this area in any area where these guys appear. And you can get potions, 1-ups, all kinds of shit. You can fill up all your potions if you want to spend enough time doing it. It could take a while, though. But keep that in mind. I did edit out some farming, actually. I did farm before a few bosses. I like using a mouse to weave around this area here. You can weave through all the bullets, and it's pretty fast. But yeah, you'll see that I'll mention some of the areas where I farmed at, but I edited it out because I didn't want to show redundant shit. It would take really long to show that. It would definitely kill the flow of the video. But yeah, use the golem here. He can walk on the spikes. It's not going to be a big deal if he gets hit by a lot of the eyeballs, because he has so much fucking health. So just walk through here. I got an upgrade that I didn't need, but at this point I think I was probably fully upgraded with everyone. You get all your upgrades pretty fast if you're paying attention to it. I like to lure the first crawling enemy down, and so I can just kill it, and then I climb up. You don't have to spend too much time here. If you got to take some hits, just take them. Just concentrate on grabbing onto the platforms you need to. The knockback in this game is very minimal, meaning if you get hit, you don't really get knocked back too much, like in Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, the old Ninja Gaiden and games like that. So you don't have to worry too much about knockback. You can absorb hits and just land on the platform or grab the platform that you intended to a lot of times. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to jump that high or you'll hit your head on the spikes like I did, but it's pretty easy if you just kind of don't pay that much attention to the enemies and just focus on getting on the platforms and grabbing where you need to. And as long as you make it here, you should be okay, because these guys are very easy. And you'll get into a farming rhythm where I just kept I edited it out, but I kept going back and forth for a while until I got all my health back for all my characters. And I farmed one potion. I think later in the game I actually farmed multiple potions because I wanted to be powered up for the boss. But I think I died anyway, even after doing that. And then I just stopped farming and just beat it the regular way because I didn't want to spend my time farming each time. Yeah, for this guy, just try to dodge the orbs, obviously, and fire out shots as you're airborne, and you should always be trying to fire when you can. For this form, you can use charge shots, which you want to turn off rapid fire if you're using a dragon, if you want to use charge shots. But I didn't end up even using the charge shots. See, I found out later that this is the best way that I found, using a golem to just beat the shit out of some of these bosses. Now, for this guy, he's weak when he uncovers a part of his body. So just use the golem and jump up and down. Don't even look for the timing. Just stay far enough away from him so that his body doesn't touch yours or he can do massive damage to you. But just keep a little bit of a gap between you and him and just punch the shit out of him. Just keep jumping. Jumping while mashing punch or holding down punch on turbo will destroy him. And that works for any time you encounter him in a game. Because the way he works is when his sword is up, you can hit him in the stomach or the legs, I think. When his sword is down, you have to hit him in the head. But you don't have to worry about that if you use that technique. Just keep jumping and hitting that punch button. I don't think I saw anybody doing that on him, but it works. I do check, some videos of these games usually when I'm playing them, but I don't always. Sometimes I just come up with my own shit. I don't check videos for every part. Or I don't remember what I saw in the videos a lot of times. But it gives me some ideas. I mean, this is really easy. You can use the mouse and just take a few hits here and there, or use the character and climb up. The mouse makes it easier because you can grab onto the ceilings and run around the platform to get up on the top. This part, I think, it was very easy. I just played it patiently. I switched characters a lot. I kind of just took it slow. So I would suggest just taking this part slow. Try to kill what you can, and then check your health bars on various, characters. If your character has very little health, you don't really want to risk it. I think you only take 1 damage for most hits. The lava may insta-kill you. I'm not sure if it's an instant death. I had a decision to make at the end of this level as to whether I should grab a potion that was in the lava. I didn't really feel like starting the level over, so I just decided to skip it. But that may be something you want to test. I wasn't sure at that point, because I wasn't really touching the lava, so I didn't know, what it would do. It would have been better to get that heart with somebody who needed it, but maybe I was a little sloppy. But I may have had full health with the dragon. I'm not sure, but I mean, it doesn't matter that much, because this level is just, it's a little bit long, but it's easy. Yeah, see, that potion went in the lava. I could have used that heart for the dragon, but, I wasn't going to try to go in there. My dragon only had 1 health, and I didn't really want to jump in there and see. Now here, if your health is bad, just commit suicide with the boy. That way you don't lose any of your characters. And then everybody will start back with full health and whatever potions you collected. So remember that strategy. You don't have to commit suicide, though. I mean, of course, you can just try to beat it with just the boy and just see how far you get. But, it's better to have full health, because if you lose a character, then you're not going to have that character for the rest of your lives until you go back out to the continue screen. And it resets everything. But this guy is not, not difficult. I can't remember if there was a second form here. I think there may be. Yeah, you got to fight the dragon again. This is the first time I believe that you fight him, on platforms, but it's very easy. I don't know if I figured out at this point the golem trick. It looks like I did. But yeah, just keep punching him in the head. Unfortunately, I can't say that I found a way to judge like when he's going to do that. See how much damage that took? That really fucked me up. I guess it didn't one-hit kill me, but it was close. So I didn't really find out a way to deal with that. If it happens, hopefully you have enough health with Golem to absorb 1 hit like that. But try to be mindful of it. If you see him moving, try to get out of the way if you have time to react. The Golem might be too slow to really react well to that. But I never did anyway. I just would take, either take the hit or die from that. I kind of had to just try to guess when he was going to do it. So yeah, I don't remember exactly how this level was, but I can see these eyeballs. Or it's one of these annoying areas with the jumping eyeballs, but you can really just run through and take a bunch of hits. Just, you could use Golem to run through if you want, or walk through. He doesn't really run, but there's invisible ceilings and shit here that will make your jumps short, but it's not really a problem. You have to wait for the lights to come on. Now, I could have used Golem here to punch up at these cocoon things. It would have made it easier. But I guess I didn't care too much, or I wasn't thinking about using them. If the game doesn't force me to play super tight, I won't always do it. A lot of times, like I said in other videos, I do kind of a rough draft when I play. Kind of a rough playthrough. Almost seeing, if I can go through and run through sloppy just on twitch reflex and not really thinking about playing that carefully. And, as that stops working, I start refining it until I beat it. I also use save and load states on the emulator to practice bosses. I always do the sections legit, but I use save and load state to practice as much as I think I need to beat a boss. One thing I did, instead of waiting to commit suicide with like 4 or 5 lives, I would use fast forward on the emulator and just commit suicide really fast. Or sometimes I would just go back to my my save state with the default lives at the beginning of the stage because it's just faster than committing suicide through all my lives. I do shit like that to save time. There's no risk involved. I'm just trying to, it's just I gotta wait to commit suicide. Yeah, so get whatever health you need. The mouse grabs it easily. Grab onto the ceiling here and just run around and just bust through this area. Take some hits. Some areas it seems like it's pretty fucking hard not to take damage the way it's designed, but I'm sure there's probably some strategies. But unless you're doing a no damage run, you just want to beat the game, so I don't think it's too important. I like using a mouse in this area because you can get the heart on this side, so I think it's useful. You'll probably take a hit here at least. I could have probably walked Gollum in there on those spikes and got that potion, but I forgot at that point. I wasn't thinking that Gollum can walk on spikes. So, sometimes little things like that don't come to you, in the moment. That's why it's good to remember all the different abilities the characters have. It's easy to forget their little specialties because they're pretty nuanced. I mean, they're not just... They have different movement and different attacks and resistances to certain attacks like the spikes. Not really an attack, more of a hazard, but, I guess that's the only case where one of the characters has a resistance to some type of attack. But yeah, this guy, nothing too special. Just shoot at him, avoid the orbs. I didn't play it well, and I still managed to beat it. I think this guy got really sloppy before I had a good strategy on here. I start off by trying to bomb everything with the mouse, which does work to an extent. I mean, I do get a lot of health off of this guy by bombing. I'm also using rapid fire, so when I hold the button down, I drop a lot of bombs at once, which is good. I'm sure you could do the same thing by mashing, but you can paint a lot of bombs in the general area and hope that he kind of moves into that circle of bombs. You can try to use it to fend off the ghosts. But when the health starts getting low, see, I barely had enough time to switch here. So be mindful of that. But this character actually works fine. I'd probably suggest starting off with the mouse just to get his health down because it does work. But just keep an eye on your health. But it's easy enough. Try to shoot the ghost and shoot him at the same time so that you clear the ghost out before they can get to you. Because the ghosts are the main nuisance. I mean, he's very easy to avoid, his body, but... Yeah, so it's not too hard. At this point, you're very far into the game. You're nearing the end. This part, it's tough not to get hit by all the shit, so try to do the best you can. Don't expect to get through here without taking some damage. Don't worry about fighting all these enemies or getting that 1-up. One-ups are kind of useless in this game, as I mentioned. Because if you lose a character, you're kind of fucked anyway. I mean, they're somewhat useful because you can just die with your main character and then you won't lose any characters. But if you switch out, but they're not that great because this level's not even that hard. It's a little bit long, but I think it may be a shorter level, but I don't remember. Just run up here with the mouse, and you probably won't really even get hit because if you just run straight, except for the ghost, I usually would get hit on, but I got lucky. And I did stop for that one skull, but it may have also been luck. I'm not sure, but the golem's good for punching these skulls and getting them out of there, especially with all his armor. He can't punch the smaller skulls that appear sometimes for whatever reason. They will deflect his punch, so he's useless for that. This is very easy. Just fly above this area. Touch down occasionally to reset your flight meter. And just keep flying. Very fucking easy. I mean, this level's not really that short, but it's not really that hard. It's a pretty simple level, I think. This guy can be tough. I guess this is your first kind of difficult boss. For this guy, I use the main character and just like when he goes up, just keep walking in a given direction and be mindful of where the orbs come out and change your direction accordingly. You want to adapt on the fly, but it's not hard. You shouldn't even get hit. And all you got to do is rapid fire the shit out of him as close as you can get to his body, the first form, and it'll down his health super fast. Now this second form is tough, but I found a trick. You'll notice with Golem, I get right in the left corner and I leave a gap in the left corner, and I'm continuously punching to the left. That's so the dragon head goes in there and gets punched and I get a lot of his health out. You know, rewind the video and check that because it's hard for me to keep up the commentary with what's going on. But, yeah, just punch him in that corner. See how much health I got out with that Golem at rapid punching? Now, if you mash the button, you may not get the same amount of damage as I do with the rapid fire control, but Golem's punch is so slow that I'm not sure it would make much of a difference as long as you're mashing. Try to dodge these best you can, and try to anticipate when he's going to move to one of the corners so you can get in as many hits as possible with Golem. If you do it right, you can get him on the the third time he descends in dragon head form to one of the corners. Remember, he alternates corners, so he starts off on the left corner, then he goes to the right, then he goes back to the left. So keep that in mind. That's how you predict where he's going to show up. So with that in mind, you should not have too much trouble with him. Switch characters as you need, to survive those. The mouse is the best for dodging the orbs, but he dies very fast. So because he doesn't have to duck if there's an orb above his head. The other characters will have to duck that or jump it. So it's a little easier with the mouse, and he has a small, hitbox, but you really got to keep an eye on his health if you use the mouse. But yeah, for this, I don't think this level is too hard. I don't think any of these levels are too challenging near the end of the game. It's mainly the bosses that can be kind of challenging. I found some of the earlier stages harder, like the one that I first said was the first hard area. That was one of the hardest stages in the game, I thought. The game really not, the game is kind of moderate for an old NES game. But it can still be hard. There's tricky parts. Just use the Golem here and, make your way up through all this bullshit. Now you have a great farming spot, which I probably farmed here and edit. Yeah, I did. I edited it out. You can farm as many potions. See, I had a bunch of potions. I probably farmed all those. And you can fill up all your health bars. So just keep going back and forth and shooting all these enemies, and you can farm health or whatever you need. So keep those farming spots in mind if you need them. This is the same boss again, so, by this point I got better at him because I probably, I may have lost several times by this point. Well, because you fight him so many times, I probably had an idea, But, yeah, now I'm getting, pretty good with not getting hit on him and taking out the ghosts. Kind of jumping around in a circular pattern and throwing out a bunch of shots. So, it makes them pretty easy. And it's probably going to be a second form, as usual with these last few stages. I think if you die on some of these last few stages, I know if you die on some of these last few stages, I don't remember where it starts, but you start back at the beginning of the stage. It's not like the other stages where you start right at the boss when you lose a life. So don't just suicide when you get here because you'll just start at the beginning of the stage. For this, just punch the shit out of him with Golem. Just keep jumping. It's a great way to exploit a lot of these bosses. I mean, as long as you don't touch his body too much, I don't think he can damage you that much. I think it only takes like one piece of health each time he hits you. You should have a full health bar. Or full upgrade anyway. By this point. I'm not sure if the body of the boss even hurts you more than the projectiles, but obviously it's easy enough. You shouldn't really walk into it. But you can definitely take some hits. There's some more eyeballs here. I just suggest just running through all this bullshit. Just take some hits. Don't bother trying to play well. It's a waste of energy. I was actually trying to go back because I was thinking maybe I could farm some shit, but I didn't really find a great farming spot in this level from what I can remember, so. But if you learn the bosses and use some of the techniques that I use, it won't be too difficult. I think this may be the hardest boss in the game, if I remember right. The first form is extremely easy. You should only get hit once if you use my method. Which is basically just get up as close as you can to the boss, as physically close as you can get without touching his body, and jam pellets into him with the original boy character. Because the boy, his attacks, his projectile attacks do more damage than the dragon. Actually, no, this is not the boss I was thinking about. This is the same guy you already fought, so use Gollum, jump up and down like an asshole. And you don't have to worry about looking at where his sword is positioned, because that's where he's blocking. But you don't have to worry about that if you just jump up and down and keep mashing the punch. Now, let's see. I think this might be... Yeah, it's another dragon, so... The dragon is very dangerous because of his charge attack, which if he charges into you and touches you, he can kill you in one hit. If you have full health, then you can probably at least take one hit. But it's very risky. You don't want to get hit by that at all. Especially since you'll be starting a stage over at this point in the game. So yeah, after hitting him a few times, you may want to go to the one on the sides just in case he's about to do his charge. You know, but in my case, he didn't want to do it for some reason. So I stood up here for a while, and I was waiting for him to do his charge, you know, so that I could go back to hitting him again. But he just never did it. So I was like, fuck it, I just did that. Because the patterns are random. I know this because I practiced with save and load states, and when I practiced on my save and load state, he would always charge on the fourth attack, after the fourth attack. So it's definitely random. So you probably just have to keep an eye out for when he's moving, but it's hard to dodge shit with the Golem. Here I was doing something strange. I decided to set the rapid fire to auto fire, which means the dragon doesn't stop firing. Well, when you do that in this game, it creates a ton of fucking slowdown, and somehow, in some way, it fucks up the dragon's jumping, where it makes it very hard to jump. So I was fucking around. I was experimenting. I wasn't necessarily expecting to even beat the stage on this attempt. I was kind of just fucking around, seeing if I could, you know, do some weird shit. I don't know. I was just curious. I thought it might be useful to, like, never stop firing in the game. Might actually be really useful, but it's not. It's real bad for this game. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could farm this area, but yeah, I couldn't find a farming in this area, anywhere to farm. So yeah, this guy's extremely easy. Use the boy character. This form, I should say. The second form is very hard. Use the boy character, and go right up to him and crouch. Make sure you're ducked as well. I don't know if you need to duck, but I just always, that's what I did, and it works. You probably don't even need to duck, but I just did it to be safe. So yeah, just do that and just jam a bunch of pellets up his ass. Now this guy can be very hard. I mainly use Gollum for this guy. And I actually got lucky, because usually I get hit by the orbs that he throws out in a spread pattern. I always get hit by them, but somehow I dodged like 2 or 3 of those. Not that one, but I dodged like 2 or 3 of those volleys. When he's coming to the corner of the screen, he's always going to jump over you. So get ready for that. You'll get used to when he's going to jump over your head at the corner. He also kind of crouches a little bit before he jumps. It's somewhat of a tell. So he also crouches when he does other moves too. So it's not always, but you'll get used to it. And you may have to rely on a little bit of luck, like I did, to beat it. But so it's not a great tutorial. Remember that if he does hit you with that sword strike, where he throws out the sword, it actually sucks out your health and gives him health back. So it's very dangerous to get hit by that. It can really extend the fight, and if you don't have any healing items, it can be very hard. Now this is a checkpoint, so don't worry. If you die and lose a continue, you'll start here with all your characters in full health, so you don't have to worry about that. Originally, I was trying to run through these spikes as like the dragon or fly through. Remember, use the mouse for the gap. Use Gollum for the spikes. And, keep doing that. Then use the mouse again to go through the gaps. This part seems like you have to take damage. I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty fucking ridiculous, so don't worry about taking damage. Try to use Gollum throughout most of the level to absorb all the hits. And when you need to, switch to another character, and then it's really not hard. It's pretty easy if you do that. It can be annoying, but it's easy. It's just a little tedious. But it's the last part of the game, and then you've beaten the game, so it's really not that hard. So yeah, just get up here. Now stay in the corner with the dragon if you have the health to do so. Hopefully you didn't use the dragon, because then you might die. And then just constantly fire at the wall. And you may be able to fire at the wall with the other character, the boy, as well. I don't know if that works well. I didn't try it. But the dragon is fine. Just follow that the way I did it. Should be very easy. And yeah, now you've beaten the game. So let me know if you have any questions, if there's any other playthroughs you want to see. And I'll try to answer any questions to the best of my memory. And thanks for watching.